Oh, I went live before I was actually ready. Probably should have already cut on the lights. Testing. Testing. All right, sounds good to me. All right, so what we're tackling today is flattening all these cutting boards. I've already flattened one of them. We have it perfectly flat and parallel on both sides. Now I need to repeat that for this one, and there's one more on the other side. So let's get the camera moved back just a little bit. Get you guys in a good position to see everything. And that should be pretty fair and out of the way. That should work. My depth stop rod is actually inside of my truck. Normally, I would actually just bring the router directly down to the top of the cutting board and then do a 1/4 inch turn. But I don't feel like going back to my truck to grab that. The sled is paste waxed. Actually, if you guys notice, I had to throw little 1/4 inch shims underneath the rails. These are still bench dug into my bench, but I had to raise them up just a little bit because this sled just barely clears the top of this board. This one is like 2 5/8. I think when I built this sled setup, I planned to do nothing thicker than like 2.5 max. So I had to raise it up just a little bit to make sure the sled could clear. It still bumped some of the glue that's up here. So first pass will be fine. The next pass, I should be able to remove the shims and keep going. All right. Well, that was a lot. My wrist hurt. But again, when it comes to ingrain cutting boards or large tabletops, I don't really have a CNC, so this is definitely my way or method to actually be able to flatten stuff that's large. But it does make quite a bit of a mess. You guys can't quite see it all from right where you guys are sitting, but it throws chips everywhere. But I am happy to be able to have again a router sled that mounts to my bench top and allows me to pretty much tackle again boards or tabletops of any size. Make a little bit of a mess, but the results work for me. That is beautiful. A little bit of sanding. This will be ready to go. We do need to flatten the other side. And so you guys can see, yeah, there's lips and stuff. So we need to get all that perfectly flat and uniform like this side. All right, let's use my blower to clean this off real quick, and then we'll be set up for the next round. Now we'll put the flat side down. Everything is firmly onto the bench. That is good to go. And now I need to lower the bit again. And I'm probably going to have to do this side in 2 passes. You can see we're significantly lower over here than over here. And I think it'd be a bit ambitious to try to take all that in one go. So we're going to do it in 2 passes. You guys probably can't see me, bring you guys in a little bit closer. So, as you guys can see, all this is even. And then here, we took some of the mahogany, didn't take any of it. This is still rough. We came all the way down here, and there's a gap. All this mahogany is still rough, so we still need to take down at least that much more. So yeah, trying to do all that in one pass would have been a bit much. I want to see if I can get you guys in there flat, but I think it's one time I can't tilt it. Yeah. But there's about, I don't know, fingernail lip right here, a little small shelf. Again, from where it's flattened and where it hasn't. So we're taking off again, I'd say maybe about 3/16 with that pass. Again, we just need to work our worst of the way all the way to the end. Lower it one more time, maybe 2, to get down to this lowest point here, or wherever the lowest point. It might actually be this one. It's the lowest. But I can say that pulling it back and forward on the rails is a lot on your hands. I do have this freshly paste wax, so it actually slides like without any, that's with one hand. So it's not even how smoothly the router itself slides, because it slides really easy. It's the actual motion when it's cutting, when you're gripping it. This isn't a D-handled router, which would have a better grip on it. It's me taking my hand and kind of doing this deft grip right here, which just doesn't feel good right here. I was debating on trying to make my sled to where it squares as a little reference ledge. I'm also giving this speech to give my wrist a little bit of a break. But it has this little lip right here, which registers it square off of the actual intended. Wait, what? I'm confused, Mike. I'm not quite understanding. But yeah, I was trying to think about a way to make the rails actually mounted to the whole entire sled. Oh, typo. Okay. So I was trying to rack my brain. But yeah, if the sled itself was like, it still can't tilt out of square. So I'm typically taking my hand over here on this end, and I'm typically taking my offhand and actually holding this here, and then inching it over, then inching it over, then inching it over. What'd it do? Nothing much, man. Just torturing my wrist, trying to flatten a bunch of cutting boards. Some of us don't have CNCs yet, so we're doing it the old-fashioned way. But yeah, so typically my offhand is over here supporting the rail, keeping it semi-square, and then I'm using this hand to do all the flattening. Which again, this not being a D-handled router, that's just not the most comfortable position to have your hand kind of locked into. And again, she slides really smoothly. It's right above where it's already cut, so the bit's actually bumping into some of the cutting board. Like we slide it way over. Yeah. She slides really smoothly because she's freshly paste waxed. See if I can do a little pluck and see how far it will slide. I mean, that was with a little bit of a wrist, but so she slides smoothly. It's not the router itself. So linear guide rails and stuff might help it, but I think it's the actual act of pulling it through the material and the fact that this isn't a D-handled router. It does have a screw hole here, so I probably could make something, like make my own custom handle. I thought about it, but again, I'm probably just gonna buy a CNC. And thank you. Yes, it actually bench dogs into my bench. These two rails, they have bench dogs right below the screws. Well, they're screwed and glued into the actual rails. These rails typically only, nope. Oh, 3D printer, no, out of wood. I don't have a 3D printer yet. 3D printer and the CNC are two tools that I'm waiting to get. Will allow me to make more things like this a lot easier, but it's going to be some type of wooden handle probably where I can grip it. Because again, until I get a CNC, router sled is kind of my way of doing large tabletops, cutting boards, etc. And this is a lot. Feels right there in the wrist is just not a comfortable feeling. Hence this little spiel. I wanted to give myself a little break. We've gotten halfway through this board. We still need one more pad. Well, we've done the other side. The other side is fine. Halfway through this side, so 3/4. Actually, no, we're not even halfway. The first pass. I'm good with math. Don't worry about it. But howdy, how are you doing? Look. Yeah, so finish up the rest of this pass, then one more pass, and we'll be done with this cutting board. But again, I'm gonna take me a quick cigarette break, drink a little bit of water. We're gonna finish up. We're right here. That's hilarious. And I don't say tougher, I say I am more persistent. I typically like to bash my head against walls until things are done. So sleep, being sore, none of that matters. And yes, working on the boards. We're currently flattening them. We flatten one side. We flatten half of this side. I can't really turn the camera on the side to get you guys close, but we have a ledge right here that's about 3/16 of an inch. Oh, we're gonna shape them afterwards. The first thing is to get them flat because again, the camera might pick it up like that's a divot. You know, this board is lower than these two, so we got to get everything flat. Typically, you know, your planer or your jointer would do it, but because these are ingrained, you can't send them through the cut. I mean, through the planer, they'll explode. You know, I want to build a drum sander or get a drum sander. That again, I've seen a lot of different plans for drum sanders. That's something I definitely want to get into because instead of buying one, I definitely think I can build one and definitely get the capacity that I want, and features that I want. I build a lot of stuff. It's really just getting a motor that would turn the drum and then figuring out what you're going to use for the drum itself. And yeah, I've seen a lot of really cool plans for drum sanders. I think Stumpy Nubs has a really good one, and then there's one I forgot the YouTuber. He did one with like an adjustable table and everything else, and that seemed like a really bare bones one where you just kind of raise the platform, and that's how you adjust the height versus lowering the actual head of the sander. So something probably going to jump into the future, but considering that again, like for this ingrain cutting board, we have like I don't know deepest difference of maybe like a 1/4 inch or so, maybe a little bit more. Free treadmill, you're done really. Oh, you put like a giant belt on the actual treadmill and just ran with it. That's and no, I'm going to end up giving it a good trim to make her square, so be a little bit smaller, and then we're going to round it over and add 2 screws. Okay, see, I thought you were saying like you left it in the treadmill configuration, just remove the treadmill belt, and then put on like a giant sheet of sandpaper. And yeah, see, the only thing when it comes to like a drum sander though is like whenever you have more than 16th or so to remove, like I wouldn't want to go through that drum sanding process for bulk removal. Which is why again I'm going to get a CNC. Dismantle, reconfigure, done. So simple. Yeah, I'm the guy who broke my first electric hand plane by trying to change the cord. So I can build stuff out of wood. I think the moment I mess with anything with the motor is where I typically step completely outside of my wheelhouse. So sounds easy, Mike. I'd probably fail pretty miserably, but I've gotten better. I've gotten better. I fixed a tool or two so far. I've done some tool adjustments, but like reconfiguring a treadmill to make it a drum sander sounds scary. For me, like the drum sander I was looking at, I actually showed my brother who is more mechanically inclined than me. I told him if I built the frame, make the adjustment mechanism and everything else, will he do it? The biggest cutting board so far? No. I've made a bunch of larger ones like in my past because that was my first. But this will be my thickest one. Yes, I never made one this thick, but I made larger cutting boards. I think this one's gonna be like 12 by like 16, which is a decent size. It's not the largest, but it's a decent size. But the thickness, I think, is gonna be like 2.5 inches. I believe about 2 3/8. So fairly thick cutting board, decent enough size. So I think this is gonna be a pretty nice one. Like I do love how smoothly that moves because I just moved the router and I guess essentially the gantry. Again, if I added that second squaring rail or lip on the inside of this rail so this actually clamps, I think it'll actually slide damn near like a CNC. Probably make it a lot easier for me. What? That's pretty badass. So yeah, I wish I had the mechanical skill because yeah, I guess everything it really is just a motor, and most motors just turn things. So it's just about converting the rotational force into doing whatever the fuck you want it to. But I guess as long as the motor is spec for it, and it depends on the size of the lathe, what you plan to chuck up into it. Are you just running across a bunch of old treadmills though? How is that? Yeah, this is exciting. I do love how smoothly she moves. Oh man, that is all I do on jury rigging machines. Guess I need to start finding some treadmills and washing machines and making cool stuff out of it. Funny, yeah. I guess you wait about 2 or 3 months after New Year's, then I see you found the market, the most expensive reused thing that you can find really cheap in the future. Yeah, treadmills must drop in value very fast. So a brand new one can get quite expensive. But considering that New Year's leads to a lot of expensive clothes racks, you'll never run out of material. That's clever. All right. After the cigarette, I'm gonna be productive. I'm gonna keep going. Finish up this pass, do the other pass, get this one out of the jig. I have one more to flatten, and then we'll probably cut everything into size, route them, and then probably look at juice screws and handles to get these finished up. So my table saw, unfortunately, I think it's not even really rated in horsepower. It's a 15 amp, so I think it's actually rated in they I think they call it 3/4 horsepower. It's a 15 amp. I do my best. I do my best. And yeah, see, that's another thing. Like, I would love, like, if I was like John Heights or something. Again, his whole entire shop is built up 15 amp, 10 inch, yeah, 3/4 horsepower. And how do you know that? It's just how many amps, how big the blade is, how fast it can turn it. I don't even know how horsepower is truly rated or even figured out really. But I want a larger saw. Like, this one's great, but I am ready for my first. So yeah, that's where my question comes in. Because like John Heights, he built his own table saw by building his own table saw, bandsaw, and some more stuff. So again, like if you have a big enough motor, I guess you can really just build your own housing and everything else, and all you need is a blade or an arbor for a saw anyway, because your motor would turn the arbor. Then after that, it's just how you house it, whether or not you build your own cabinet, etc. Like this saw, I just built into a cabinet because it wasn't a cabinet saw. So and I don't know what lathe capacities typically are, but 5.5 horsepower sounds like a lot for a lathe. I could be wrong. Is that a lot of power? Like, can you turn like a half the tree trunk up there if you wanted to? Okay, so then you'll need to know the torque specs. Oh, it's way too much. I love the confident irresponsibility in that reply. That's great. Hopefully, it has variable speed. Well, I guess so. It's a full treadmill. So yeah. Oh, half horsepower, you say? Nothing wrong with 10, 11 times as much power than normal. Sounds responsible. That's hilarious. And yeah, because it's a treadmill, full variable speeds. That's actually going to be pretty cool. And I guess if you ever want to turn something really, really small with a really big chisel, you can always crank up the RPMs and have absolute freedom. Oh, because I guess when you do metal, you need it at higher speeds. And so you're going to turn it like a mill. That makes sense. Because, yeah, metal, you'll use a harder steel, spin it faster to get what you want. That's fuck. See, again, I want to get into metalworking eventually. I just have no aptitude for it at the moment. My last time I tried welding was less than like 8 months ago, and it looked terrible. So, like, welding is kind of a base skill I probably need to improve on before I get ambitious and say I'm become a metal worker. All right. Let's continue the torture. Oh, cam unplugged. That is one pass, and we still have the lip here. So it might be two more. We're going to see what we can do. I don't want to overdo it with the router sled. This isn't really a surfacing bit, so taking too big of a pass. Wouldn't be the best idea. Woo. And again, we are getting there. But yeah, I still can see on this strip, the mahogany has been hit. And then right here, it tapers off. All this is still rough. Still hasn't gotten this one. And then this one is just a fingernail below that. So I can take a really light pass on the next one, and we'll be set. The problem, though, is without my depth rod for my router, excuse me, is actually inside of my truck, and I don't feel like getting it. So it's kind of hard to do those small micro adjustments. But I'm going to try to take the lightest pass I can possibly take. To make it a lot easier on me. Just come down here. Looks like it should clear out everything with this. Hopefully I have it low enough, because it'll definitely suck to go over everything and get all the way down here to the lowest spot and realize that I need just a little bit more. that is a workout. But the results are gorgeous. Nice and flat. Everything is even. And they're parallel to each other because my workbench is perfectly flat. And our finished board is 2 1/4. Let's put that one back there. Let me blow all this off. All right. I have this one I started flattening earlier. Thank you. I think that one came out pretty good. I have this one that I started flattening earlier. Remember, I flattened one side. Yeah, I think it was this side, that corner. I still had a rock too. Yeah, so this side is perfectly flat. I can push down this side all I want, and if she doesn't pivot down, when I flip her over, good on these corners, good on that corner. Not sure if the camera picks it up. Maybe my mic is. And it's not even done. Thank you. Oh yeah, once I put the finish on, it's gonna look amazing. Not sure if that picks up. So that corner, well, this corner on the other side needs to be, and this whole board needs to be hit, but it needs to be hit to the height of this corner over here. So I reposition these bench dogs, push those up against there. All right, let's do this one. Then it's just that one other board that needs to be flattened on both sides. Okay, just wanted to make sure it's removing something. It's barely, pretty much just to make sure that I'm actually removing the to the lowest point, which is over here in this corner. We have a small lip that comes all the way down here to the edge. One more to do. My wrists don't hurt at all. Easy peasy. now the actual test to make sure I did what I was trying to do. Let's flip it back over. And no more rocking. Success. We don't want to take this time to get this far and then give somebody a cutting board that rocks. That'll tick them off and make me mad too. So 2 ready to be cut down. We have 1 more. I wish I actually had some coffee grounds. I never actually stained a cutting board, but from what I've read, you can do it as long as you're using like natural dyes. I think coffee grounds, it's the closest thing to like walnut, which is almost like the only stain color that I actually think does come out right, which is like a dark brown. So if I had some coffee grounds, I would actually give that a shot and see how that comes out. I think that'll look pretty good. Yeah, it might be better to center it instead of having it all the way up against the rail. All right. Didn't go low enough. There's some lower spots here. That should do it. Oh my goodness. That's another one down. Hey Harold, what's up? Thanks for chopping in, boss. Hope you're enjoying your evening. That's one side down. Now we need to flatten this side. But as you guys can see, now she sits flat without any rock in it. So now we have to make that mirrored on this side. That should do it. Yep, that needs to go lower. Beautiful. All right. That is it with the router sled. And I have made a gigantic mess all over the entire shop. Whew. Just so you guys can sawdust galore. Looks like somebody murdered a tree in here. All right. It's that done though. Pull out these bench dogs. Yeah. It didn't have an enjoyable time in here. These can get on top of the trash can, and I missed all of those. The router again, so I'm not going to put it up. I'm just going to put it over here on the side. Wrench. So I can put up this extension cord. All right. So now I need to rip these to their final dimensions. I think that's too big for my small crosscut slit. Actually, it's not. All right, this might just work and stay easy for me. Because my larger crosscut slit actually needs some love. But the smaller one, it's operating just fine. And if it can rip this one square for me, the question is, will she fit? No, she won't. She needs a little bit trimmed off for her to fit. This isn't square yet. Could take off just a wee bit, and then she would fit. I have a track saw. That's what we're gonna do. We're gonna track saw this. Actually, I don't even think my track saw would do that in the full depth pass because that's 2.5. No. Thank you. Oh, I see. I missed a bunch of comments. Yes, these are my safety shoes to keep me safe. And dang it, I do have a track saw, but the track saw won't cut all the way through this. I actually don't even know if the table saw will with the sled. It might not. Oh, the table saw will just do it with the sled. So I can do a track saw, then I have to flip it and get the track exactly on the same mark. I'm gonna try it. We'll find out together. If it'll work. Well, damn, that got really close to going all the way through. It is almost all the way through. Leaves just that little nib right there. Now I'm gonna try to cut just that very last little bit off. And I'm going to kind of creep up on that depth. And that's straight enough for me. Now I can run through my table saw regularly, get the other side parallel, then I'll do my cross cutting for everything. Remove the crosscut split for now. All right. Yeah, the M18 track saw is pretty freaking awesome. I will say, I was in need of a track saw for that door build, and my debate was between. I used to have a bunch of Makita batteries because I used to have the battery powered Makita miter saw. I switched over to the corded one because this saw typically stays inside the shop, so I no longer have Makita batteries. But I was leaning toward the Makita miter saw. I mean, the Makita track saw, but the Makita track saw doesn't have a riving knife. The Festool track saw doesn't have a riving knife either, but it does have that anti-kickback feature. But the Milwaukee track saw pretty much had all the features. And the Festool track saw does not have the anti-tip feature. So if I want to do like waterfall edges for tabletops and stuff like that, that track saw can do it. The Festool can possibly tip off of the track while you're running at 45. Yeah, I will say again, expensive piece of kit though. Definitely expensive. I would say if you don't need a cordless version, definitely buy the corded Makita. It'll probably be the best bang for your buck as far as quality. Because again, the riving knife only comes in for like hardwoods, really thick slabs or something like that. But I've had multiple people say that they never had their Makita or their Festool ever bind up on them. So the riving knife might not be worth spending the extra money on. So if the next one down, I would say the corded Makita. I think the corded Festool is even cheaper than the Milwaukee. I think the corded Festool is like $5 something. The corded Makita, I think it's either $4 or $5. And then the next option in that grouping, I would say go down to the Craig. The Craig track saw will be the next one. I think that one's like $3.99 though. And it's the proprietary tracks that kind of makes the Craig kind of for me, because again, it having proprietary tracks limits my accessories. We're gonna just put my lighter. But yeah, that limits my accessories and everything else that can go with the track saw. Like I want to be able to get rail guides, a rail square. I just had a lighter. Dang it. Take my eyes off something for a second. I was wondering if I blew it on the floor, which is a possibility, but I don't see it over here either. I have another lighter. It's all right. Oh, put it inside my apron. There we go. All right. So what we're going to do now that we have a semi-straight edge on this one, we're going to run this through the table saw. We're going to run the other two through the table saw to get them nice, cleaned up and parallel. Cross cut, select them to make sure that everything is nice and square. And then we can go into the sanding, routing, and juice groove process. We'll probably have like another 45 minutes to an hour, give or take, on this live. So we might get into juice grooving. We'll see how far we get. But this one is definitely looking really nice. I'll give you guys a close up. The other ones, those are just solid ash and completely reclaimed from scraps. This one is scraps too. But again, there's various hardwoods that were laying around my shop. Oh, yeah. If you're already on the M18 platform, you can't beat the M18 track saw. I would say you can't. Yeah, this is a great track saw. I think out of all of them, best around. I can't really think of anything better than the M18. I think the Makita saw is definitely smoother. The Makita track saw, like the rails. I have the Makita tracks. I don't have the Makita saw. The Makita tracks are better than the Milwaukee tracks. As far as how well the saw actually glides on the track. Makita in general, I think, just makes a better saw. Theirs is just missing the riving knife. And I think the depth adjustment on the Makita isn't the single pull, one-handed little slide on the front. I think it's like a knob. So Makita's missing like some of the fit and finish, and the riving knife being the biggest thing for me. As far as the Milwaukee, though, overall, there's nothing I can really complain about the track saw. And then comparing it to any other track saw, there's not really any areas where it loses. So definitely, if you're already on the M18 platform, definitely get the Milwaukee track saw. Just, I'll say, take your time. Wait until you absolutely need it, or wait until you have a job that justifies it. I'm actually on the Flex platform. So I actually did not want to buy the M18 track saw. I wanted to get a Flex track saw whenever they dropped one. But I had a job come up to where I needed a track saw, and I had to make a choice. And I don't want any Festool battery tools. There's none of them that really, make me want to get Festool. So I didn't, and I wanted a battery track saw for the job I was doing because, getting the cords and everything else. So I ended up going M18 just because Flex does not have one yet. But yeah, if you're on the platform, definitely recommend the M18. Can't say anything else better about it. It's my only Milwaukee tool at the moment. I might end up grabbing more because Flex is definitely doing not the best in their marketing. But I did see some new tools they're getting ready to put out. So I am excited for those. I think Flex just came out with a new vacuum, and it solves a problem that nobody else has actually figured out yet. I think like for the dust extractor for the Festool, it uses the batteries, or you plug it into the dust extractor. The Milwaukee dust extractor, you have to plug it in, or there's a remote on the actual hose. So you have to push the button every time you want to turn it on and off. Flex came out with a vibration technology. So whenever the hose senses vibration, the vacuum itself cuts on. So now any battery platform, any tool, you're going to slap it on there. It's only for their smaller 2.5 gallon shop vac, but they're planning to make a larger one later. So Flex is still making stuff and still making some really good stuff. It's just I tried to reach out to them, got no answers. But again, make some of the coolest stuff I've seen as far as tools. They're just lacking in the amount of tools, variety of tools, and I think customer relations. They're doing pretty terrible in that area. And when Flex drops a track saw, I'm probably going to pick it up because I know it's going to be freaking amazing. And then I'll just have two. I need one for my shop and one for my job site anyway. All right. Let's set my blade height. Rip these. Cross cut them. like this bucket is full, so let me stop before I procrastinate too long. And it is. It's full as fuck, boy. Definitely gotta do better at this. Is my filter clogged up? Okay, there's barely anything inside of here. But let me vacuum that out too while I have this taken apart. By the way, I'll bring you guys back here. I have a separator that I finally put onto this collector back here. My first time using it, well, first time sucking up any dust on it. It's just one of the Grizzly or Woodstock separator lids. And I just sucked up a bucket, 5-gallon bucket of sawdust. And it's all in here. Well, I'm not going to say all, but this was completely empty till just like 2 seconds ago. So I don't know how much of that, you know, I can probably dump it back into the 5-gallon bucket to see. But 5-gallon bucket, completely empty. And how much of that did it go into the bag? Did the separator separate all of it? Don't know. I'll have to do some further tests. But again, first time opening it, I would say that's makes me pretty satisfied, because dumping that can versus dumping the bag be a lot easier. It'll allow me to throw a canister filter on it, put like a 5-gallon bucket with a gamma seal lid on the bottom. Then I can actually mount all of this stuff up on the wall. So steps in the right direction for my dust collection. That's why I walk back here. Slap my filter back on. And put the camera down so I can put this stuff back together. I just had a feeling that I knew I didn't dump that bucket for quite a while, and don't want to get the filter clogged or anything else. So it's definitely about time to do so. How you doing? And spill a little bit? Yes. Doing all right. We're trying to get some cutting boards and stuff together for Mother's Day. Making progress. I just have to dump dust collection situations. Got to put what together? That mean something? Yeah, I had my first craft fair not too long ago. I would say it went intermixed. I didn't really sell too much, but I did pass out a few numbers. Ugh. I yearn for the day when I have like a giant 50-gallon drum attached to my dust collector, though, and the dust collector is then routed to all the tools where I'm not switching hoses. I have blast gates. It's going to be so satisfying when I get there because tools like my router definitely need some type of dust collection solution. It makes such a huge mess in the shop. All right, back in business. That's ripped down. I just need to rip these other two. Well, goddamn, see, that's a blessing. Hey, with that many people there at the venue, you definitely have some chances to actually sell some decent sized products, and a decent amount of them. Let's see. These are 11 and a half. Thank you. Again, all this is from scraps and stuff left over from a door build I just did. I love to reuse some scraps when I can. And this project and the next one I'm going to do, I'm about to do a TV stand for my dad after, because one of these cutting boards is going to be for my mom. I'm going to do a TV stand for my dad. And I have a bunch of strips that I got re-glued. These are, again, the doors that I built were made of ash. Router sled just got used, so there's sawdust everywhere. But re-glued a bunch of strips together. You need to run these through the jointer and planer to get them flattened up. But I think I'm going to make these the doors for the TV stand I'm planning to build. And then I have a bunch of other miscellaneous ash, some mahogany and stuff. Very skinny strips around the shop. I'm going to use that for a TV stand. I had more than buckets. Like this whole entire hand tool bench. I'm not hand tool bench, but a material cart. So workbench, but then the scrap stored here on the side. I recently went through and grabbed all of my skinny strips that were a decent enough length. All the strips I used to glue up those boards, I had strips stacked from there up to the bottom of my Jorbinets, and all those scraps and some of the ones I pulled out of here. Only thing that's left is the stuff that's on the bench. That small pile right there, focus, and these cutting boards, and then all these glued up pieces here. So I went through a good bit of my scraps. My goal is to kind of purge the rest of this through my next two projects, or again, use these scraps to make something. I have a bunch of larger material kind of stacked around the shop that not going to go toward anything right now, just holding on to them. But anything that was small or extremely skinny, my goal was to turn it into something. And then, yeah, as far as the buckets of scraps that I kind of leave hanging around, there's a whole bunch up underneath that bench. There's more on that door. Probably won't get to using any of those, but anything that was long enough to be glued up into a board or something I can see usable, it's kind of what I went to tackle. And again, we're making pretty good progress with cleaning out the shop as far as those little small pieces or sizable pieces, mid-range. My phone, I'm getting got some text. All right. Let me make this couple. Where's my phone battery at? I didn't even check that. Okay, it's at 40. Cool. So let me rip this. One of these was 12. I think it was that one. Yeah, that one was 12 and a quarter. So we're going to go to 12 and an eighth. You're going to actually go 12 and 3/16. Yeah, you don't really ever notice how much scraps you have until you start pulling them out of the woodworks, and then you realize that you have a lot more than you thought. Like my other idea to get rid of my scraps, I made my very first bandsaw box. This was a little boring, but it still needs to be sanded. I haven't finished it. I added a knob or anything, but again, I'm probably going to eventually go through all of my scraps, pull up as many blanks for bandsaw boxes. If they're too short to make anything else, that we can make a bunch of bandsaw boxes. They can do various sizes and whatnot. But they can turn them into knobs and handles, etc. I do plan to do some bandsaw boxes going straight too. Now that I know I have bandsaw plates for it, there's some and order. Anyway, yeah. Scraps. Never ending battle. 11-7. All right, we have all of the edges square and parallel. Now I just need to cross cut them and clean up the ends. So we're just going to take very little off the edges. Perfectly square. Beautiful. Oh. Well, technically, I need to come up with a new juice groove jig. I don't have one tall enough for these. Or I can go over to the router table and do all the handles, which would be a little bit more, not more fun, but more fun. And then I can worry about juice grooves, handles, and routing everything later. But no, I actually need to do the round over first. I need to do a round over on all these before I get into the other profiles. I already have a round over chucked up. Where's one of my Ryobi batteries? Do I not have none of the big ones in here? Oh, I have one. Yeah, end grain will be going this way. I'm gonna go that way. It'll all be edge grain. You want to route all of your end grain. Thank you. You want to make sure that you route all of your end grain before your longer grain, because it's gonna have tear out. So I want to route going in this direction first, kind of come around the board. Thank you. Dang it. I gotta take this battery out. Take the bit out. Because I don't have another Ryobi battery inside. That's poor planning on my part. I just had the wrench. What did I do with the wrench for the flex trim router? I hate moving stuff. Screw it. I'm just going to use this then. I got a couple flex batteries in here. Two of them are fully charged. Let me throw the other one on the charger. You can hear my shoulders hurting through the screen. Very possible. Yeah, it's still locked. And now, I think for a board this size, this roundup can get a little bit larger than that. I'm just going to do it in multiple passes again to try to keep from tearing out or burning anything. Before I lower the depth, let me get these two rounded over. And that's enough round over for a board about this size. Then you look at this one. It's a good bit thicker than these, which is, again, quite satisfying. This is going to be a really nice one. Woo. All right. We're definitely getting there. But the next steps would be me making a router, juice groove jig, and then setting up my router table over there for handles, which I honestly don't feel like doing tonight. I think we're probably going to call it at this point. I'll probably set up that stuff tomorrow after I get off work, and we'll probably do another live stream. I might do one of these off camera just so I can kind of have some footage to show the rest of YouTube. So then we'll probably save these two, juice groove, handles, sanding, and maybe get some finish on these tomorrow. Tomorrow is Friday. Leaves me one more day to actually get these finished up. So, great progress. I think the board's coming along great. I definitely appreciate you guys for hanging in there with me tonight. I'll see you guys in the next one.